Alright, so I'm unfortunately learning that this microphone I got on the TikTok shop is a piece of shit. I guess what did I expect? But today marks 1 year of ownership of the FL5 Type-R, and I'm just gonna go over what's been done to the car. Now, I have a build sheet, everything that has been done to the car. Just everything that's been done, cosmetic, performance, and, miscellaneous things. All the money that's been spent. Now, personally, I bought this car with the intention to modify it, but I had the intention to be very sparing with the modifications, which, in the grand scheme of things, I have. There's not really a ton done to it. Now, granted, the ending price will make it sound like there has been a ton done to it, but I mean, just based on looking at it, there's really not much to see. And I know that there are plenty of people who have built cars. This is a very expensive hobby, and that they've put like 40,000, 80,000, 100,000, 200,000, whatever into their cars, and that'll make this pale in comparison, of course. But for owning it a year and being very in love with the car in its stock form, I consider the amount of money that has been put into this car quite significant. When I bought the car, I was very happy with it. Uh, I bought it, I upgraded from a Civic Sport, which I had been modifying for about a year before I traded it in. But I realized that I was modifying a car that, first of all, wasn't worth modifying, but also a car that I wanted to change rather than enhance, which that's not always the healthiest outlook when it comes to modifying a car. You should be building upon a platform that you already enjoy rather than trying to completely wipe it clean and start fresh. All right, and I'm sure I know what you're thinking. Why are you taking this video and you didn't even bother to park straight? Good question. You know, I really enjoy this platform. I didn't expect to put as much money into it, especially in the first year, as I have, but they are mostly just enhancing what is already good about the car. Nothing on this platform needed to be changed. My enthusiasm for cars stems from uh, trying to enhance, trying to improve, trying to see what can improve. Now, I say all these things to preface that I think I've been successful in improving things on this car that were already good. So I guess the only thing to do is just get into what I've changed. Now, there are a few things that are apparent just from looking at it from the outside. Not a ton, but a few, especially to somebody who knows the car. Now, first thing that most Type R, well, FL5 owners would notice is that the wing is paint matched. I did not do that myself. The previous owner did that. It was still a new car when I bought it. It was used, but it only had 4,000 miles on it. This is something I would have done otherwise at some point. I would have painted the wing. I just feel like it looks better that way, especially in championship white. Secondly, once again, for the FL5 owners who would, be keen on something like this, you may notice that the rear rotors are slightly larger. If you look a bit closer, you'll see that they're slotted. I'll actually switch over. I did upgrade to the Paragon Performance rotors and pads. I didn't go with their full big brake kit upgrade with 6 pistons. I might at some point, but I like, you know, the way the 4 pistons look underneath these wheels. And then from this angle, there are a few more things to notice. I have the AWE track exhaust with these black chrome tips, which does sound good. I had to fix a few things as far as like rattling and fitment issues, but once they got fixed, I definitely enjoy the way it sounds. Drone is a little much, but it's only really an issue if you're in slow traffic, windows closed, and you already like have a headache or something. Otherwise, it's not a problem for me. I maybe when I'm older I'll want to change it, but as of right now, I'm happy with it. I like the drama that comes from it, especially when breaking loose. Like losing traction control kicking on, it just like shoots off these gunshot sounds. It's kind of fun. It makes the driving experience a lot more engaging. I also have these Mugen visors. Massively expensive, not worth it, but And then moving towards the front, I got the EVS Tuning GTLM mirrors. Uh, Looking at them, you may think, wow, those are really small, and they are. But honestly, I've lived with them for about a week and a half now, and I am perfectly happy with them. You see everything you need to see. They have the blue tinted wide angle mirrors, and you can see everything you need to see. And as far as cosmetic things on the outside of the car, that's really all there is. Still on the stock wheels. I do have my order in for a set of CE28s. They're going to be in around November, or at least that is what I was quoted. It'll be about 8 months. It's currently March. So, long wait for that, but that is another cosmetic upgrade. And of course, I'll be getting tires because they are a different size. So, on that note, can't wait to get those in. I won't be adding that to the total price on this build sheet. Well, I guess I will because I have paid for it. It's just they're not on the car yet. But I did include things that aren't currently on the car but were. So I guess I'll just add that to the total price. It definitely hiked it up. So now I'm gonna move on to the engine bay. Not much has been done here. I am not really going for big power right now. At some point, maybe I will. We'll see. I don't want to like be one of those people who tries to see the limit of what front wheel drive can do. Um, I think this can get pretty chaotic at the stock power. As I'm using this car, as I'm driving it, as I'm pushing it to whatever limits I may be able to find, I'm realizing that power really isn't a shortcoming for this platform. It definitely it scoots. The only thing I've really focused on is how the car feels, how I feel driving it, how engaged I feel on a day-to-day basis, how engaged I feel when I'm pushing it. The things that are done underneath the hood include this PRL strut tower brace, the Spoon Sports radiator cap, the PRL high volume intake. That's actually it. Yeah, that's it. And now to the interior. And this is where most of the changes have been done. All right, I'm going to leave the coffee there. Nobody cares. Now looking inside, there are some things that you can't see. There are some things that you can. First and foremost, I did put WeatherTech mats, which are pretty disgusting right now. I keep them on year round. I think the red mats are just way too susceptible to getting dirty. I keep those in at all times. I think that it breaks up some of the red. I think sometimes there's just too much red. And as you can maybe tell right now, I'm not really huge on having like a bunch of color in the interior. I like the red accents. I like the red seats. I think that's just about it. I don't want to add like, a weird colored shift knob. I don't want to have like a burnt titanium shift boot delete plate. I don't want to have like extra carbon fiber anywhere. I don't want to have red trim anywhere else. Like I like to keep it sort of mellow. So there are certain things that you may see. First and foremost, the steering wheel. This is the JQ Works Mad Tray steering wheel with the vintage Honda horn button. I bought the steering wheel mostly for the appearance of it. I think it looks really cool. I like having a suede steering wheel, which this one has some age in it. It gets used quite a bit. I'll probably get it like, cleaned up at some point, but as of right now, it's fine. Moving on, we have the Hyper Racing short shifter with the competition rod. I got it in the black finish. I just think, as I said, I don't like a bunch of colors. Uh, it is awesome. It's just right. Like it feels good. I don't see it needing to be any tighter for any reason. Uh, and I also, one thing I did forget to mention, I have the Acuity shifter cable bushings down in the engine bay, which naturally I did forget to mention when I was going over the engine bay. But I guess it's more connected to, the interior and the feel of the car. Just like most of the things that I have done in the engine bay, like the strut tower brace. I'm sure there wasn't much like performance to derive from that, but I did it because first, well, I mean, I think it looks cool, and there could be something. There could be something there. And also the intake was really just for the sound. The shifter with the shifter cable bushings. At first, I didn't think there was any difference. Like the first time I installed them. Beyond that, we have the Acuity pedal spacer, which probably isn't very easy to see. It's pretty dark down there. And while we're going over the feel of the car, I also have a PRL rear motor mount, which definitely improves the shifter feel. The rear motor mount, when you are able to get traction, it is pretty incredible what it feels like to accelerate this car without dealing with that wheel hop, which of course you expect out of a car with this power only being driven by the front wheels, but it is a nightmare. Like it's tough to deal with, so getting that installed was kind of I would say pretty necessary. These are all under the umbrella of what the car feels like. Moving on to the suspension. I did a full overhaul on the suspension upgrades. I took it to a shop up in northern Illinois, which is well trusted with all my, you know, Type R friends because once you have a Type R, you sort of just start making friends. I had the Swift lowering springs, RV6 rear sway bar, lower control arms, lower camber arms, end links, and bushings. I had basically the whole catalog from RV6 outside of the compliance mounts. I took it to them as well as the brakes, and I had them install all of it all at once, which some people will say, do one thing at a time, see what's improved, see how it feels, and then go on and keep on going. But I feel like it would have been more impressive to see all those things improve at the same time. And honestly, driving it, it is absolutely insane. This thing does not lose grip. It doesn't, it feels so planted. Every curve, there's a little extra camber in the rear, which helps with high speed curves. There's not a single turn where I feel like I don't have confidence in the car. It always feels like it's on rails. And once again, this car handled really well from the factory. This is not something that everybody would need to do. But I wanted to do it because I want to push this car really, really hard. Once I got on the road, I felt like I was driving a new car almost, especially the lowering springs. Now, a lot of people will complain about these because the Type R is stiff. Even in comfort mode, people will complain. Me personally, I never had an issue. I even enjoyed driving it in plus R mode, just like casually, because I never thought the stiffness was a super big issue for me. That could be because I'm young. I'm 25. I don't have like a bad back. I do get a bit of the jiggle factor. Don't get me wrong. I don't have an issue with the stiff ride. I think that this car feels good. It does become a little much over like shitty roads, but that's only over shitty roads. And granted, Chicago has a lot of those. My daily driving, I really don't have to deal with it. So I I don't have I don't have an issue. And I know I look cool as hell in this car. Part of me, a lot of me, can accept the fact that this car is very stiff because I know it looks really cool lowered. So now's the time to go over the entire build sheet, starting with power mods. The PRL high volume intake was $506. The AWE track, $1,377. Paragon upgraded rotors and pads with the rear caliper extension red piece. Looks really cool. Doesn't derive any performance. The Paragon kit was $1,796. The suspension that includes the Swift springs for $389. The RV6 catalog for $1,477. Rear motor mount for $210. The PRL front strut tower bar for $253. And then moving on to things just for engagement, that is the JQ Works Mad Trace steering wheel for $1,828 with the Honda horn button. It was $118. The Hybrid Racing short shifter and competition rod, which I forgot to put the price on, but I believe the short shifter was around $460 to $480. And the competition rod was, I think, like $120. From Acuity, I got the pedal spacer for $120, the shift cable bushings for $70, and the PRL clutch line, which I didn't mention because it hasn't actually been installed yet. It's just sitting at my house. Around $50. I bought a spoon shift knob, a hybrid racing shift knob, and that costs around $200 total. And then moving on to things that are just sort of protective. I didn't PPF this car because I do plan to wrap it once I'm rich. I had no interest in PPF because I just felt like that would be a massive expense for something that I don't really care about. If something terrible happens, I mean, worst comes to worst, I'll just replace the bumper. Anyways, protective. I have the OEM trunk tray, which I didn't even show, but it's just the one that says Type-R. It's straight from Honda for $144. The WeatherTech mats, I only bought the front for $154. The two-step performance vent protector for the fender, which I don't currently have on the car. Those were $79. The unit in R8, which also isn't in the car. I should have taken this stuff off. The unit in R8 I did sell, but it cost $715. It was fine while I had it, but I don't really break the law. So it was just beeping at me all the time for no reason. I have the VOFO front and rear dash cams. Those were, I think, $200. I forgot to look. Cosmetic Mugen rain guards. Those were $225 when I bought them. I had some carbon mirror caps before I got rid of the factory mirrors. Those were $176 for the replacements. They weren't just overlays. I had also spoon wide angle mirrors attached to the OEM mirrors. Those are $169. Previously, I did have a maxed in design front lip. I haven't put on the side rocker extensions because I'm still debating on how I want to attack it. I think it'll be less susceptible to falling off, so I'm considering just doing 3M tape. 3M tape has worked for most things. And I also had the lip. I ended up having to buy two because I installed one myself. First mistake, it fell off. I realized that it wasn't the highest quality and it split in half. So I ended up having to order a new one. I did order the new one at a discounted price. So I won't necessarily say the total for both. But the first one was $329, and then whatever I paid for the second one. So whatever that price comes out to. The skirts were $306. Garage Unique front lip, which is currently sitting at home waiting to be installed. I may do it next week. That one is $900. I didn't go with the carbon fiber one because I just think carbon fiber would clash with the piano black that is currently on the front of the car. It also did save me like I think $200. So you can say that's cope if you want. And then next, the EVS tuning mirrors, $945. Aeroflow tints for the headlights and the tail lights, which I don't even know why I bought the ones for the tail lights. They were just like a tint to mask this side marker here. And then the tints for the headlights were just to black out the orange side marker on the front. I ended up trying to install myself, didn't do it properly, just took them off. That was $30. And then I have listed here the wheels and tires, which are not currently here. I did still spend the money on them. $4,187 for the CE28N in blast gunmetal. And then I am planning to go with Yokohama 8009s for the tires after installation and warranties. And that comes out to about $1,900. For installs and maintenance, I like to do most of my installing myself. Currently, maintenance costs are pretty low because I'm still under warranty for my free oil changes at a dealership. Put it at $1,000 and 12. Jesus, I put it at $1,012 because the install for the brakes, the RV6 suspension, and the Swift springs was about $855. With all that done, I just assumed that there was an extra like 200 bucks on other maintenance and stuff like that. And then $351 for miscellaneous expenses, whatever else may have been put into the car. So that's around $20,000, which isn't insane in like car world. But I'm not like an extremely well off person, so I, just work hard. And every time I buy something big like the wheels, it is kind of an event for me. It is kind of like something that I really have to weigh out the pros and cons for, and I just really have to save. I spend like months saving, and then I go for it because this is what I like to do, and it feels significant to me. For some people, buying wheels is sort of like buying, groceries for them. I'm not there yet. One day though, we'll see. As far as all this stuff goes, I am happy with how the car sits. I'm looking forward to getting the wheels, but I am also not itching to switch out the stock wheels. I'm happy with the way the car drives, the way the car feels, the way it looks. If anything else were to change in the future, it would perhaps be a bigger wing. I won't get the wing risers. I think those are ugly as hell. I would get a nice GT wing. I think that would look sick. And somewhere down the line, I may paint it if I really come to a point where I have a color that I know I want to keep on the car forever. Because paint is too expensive and too permanent for me to just like go for it. A wrap is a little bit more forgiving. So yeah, I mean, hope you guys liked the car. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.